What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, bring incredible guests from all over the world. So sit back, relax, and tune in. My next guest is a former professional dancer, the founder of Project Equinox, a teacher at heart, and it has become his mission to help others create and maintain long-lasting and loving relationships. Please welcome Andre Paradis. Andre, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. So I love this. And I think we have kind of said, I just said to you, no matter who it is, male, female, male, male, female, female, if you're missing certain things in your relationship, you don't have a solid foundation. It's going to be very difficult to have a successful relationship. I kind of want to understand where this mission started from for you.
Oh God, the mission came in. I came from the funny beginnings of my family. I was the outsider, the black sheep, didn't fit in. Like it was my whole life, and so I ended up having to, out of my self-understanding protection, watching the world. I started watching the world at 5 years old, just watching human beings, watching, like vigilantly. I was the odd kid that would stand in the corner and watch everything. Yeah. So that was sort of my go-to, just trying to understand my circumstances, and became fascinated with the human condition. How does somebody get to have swag and the other one's a dork and this one is like the queen of all? And like, how do people develop? Like I became like just almost obsessed with that in understanding human beings. That's always been my brain. I'm curious at heart. I want to know everything. I want to know everything. If you specialize in something, it could be like, macrame. And if you're passionate about it, I want to go, why that's passionate for you. So that's my brain. So with that, I spent my life since I was 23 years old in personal development workshops when it was actually weird. My friends would go, you spend the weekend where? What the hell's wrong with you? Right? Like, who does that, right? But that's, again, trying to understand my circumstances, my life, trying to get my stuff together, get my money together, get my business together, get my brain together, and I try to live my best life. So constantly challenging and learning. That's just how I'm wired. But ultimately, like I said, with wanting to know everything, live the best life, and trying to understand the meaning of life on some level, really. Yeah. In 2006, I ended up in a workshop. I was invited to participate for free, and I just jumped in just because, hey, it's a workshop, it's free. Hey,
right.
Of course.
Why not?
And I asked after the fact what the workshop was about.
You asked after the fact.
Well, yeah, I was invited. Of course, I want to be there next weekend. Sure, I'm there. Like, what is it? And she goes, "Oh, it's called Understanding Women." I'm like, really? There's such a thing? That's hysterical. Like, what do you mean? Anyway, so it's a workshop, and I went in there with. You have to understand, because I'm an artist. I have sort of life with women with me. It's always been easy. I've always attracted sweet women like my wife. You meet my wife, you go, "Oh God, wow." Right? Like all my friends, does she have a sister? No. Right? Anyway, so that was always my go-to. Like, so I've never done the drama. My friends did the screaming, the misunderstanding. I actually thought I knew something.
Right.
If you'd asked me, what is it that you know? I couldn't answer, but I just thought I had something. So I go to this workshop thinking, I know women. I know, don't yell, be sweet, be kind, be attentive, blah, 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 right?
Yeah, all the things.
So sure. And so I go in there a little bit aloof, and oh my God. This is where a pivotal moment changed my life. I literally in that workshop slipped off my chair 7 times.
Wow.
With the things that I could not conceive, the way you operate, why you take things personally, because you do, and there's a really good reason for that, right? That we don't. Why? Oh my God. And so on the other side of that workshop, I was flabbergasted, but also I was upset. My wife said I came home and I was white as a sheet, because when I realized I didn't know, first I knew nothing about women,
right,
which was mind-boggling, like not even a little bit, like off the mark completely.
Yeah.
But what also meant that I knew nothing about my wife.
Right.
Now, you understand, all my siblings are married and divorced 2-3 times.
Oh, wow.
One's on 4. I mean, I have my angel, my baby girl, my wife. I have 2 little kids at a time, a toddler and the thought of not knowing what I'm doing to her, because I don't know, and basically liability of that, like I could, I didn't want to become a statistic because I didn't know. Like I
Right.
just that made my brain explode. Like, and the guy who's curious about everything, now I know this I know nothing about, and I'm in a marriage, long-term relationship with this angel who apparently I hurt her feelings all the time, even though I don't mean to. Who
Yeah.
apparently I confuse her all the time, even though I don't mean to. Apparently, I think I'm so obvious, and I'm so not
Yeah.
to her. And wait, what? Wait, what? So this was all very dangerous, and that's how it started. So this is 2006. The company who held that workshop had a whole curriculum. So I jumped in like a fool. I took all their workshops. I started assisting all their workshop for free. Every weekend I was in a workshop, integrating the work, the knowledge. I just wanted to eat it all up, and I did. And then eventually I'm a teacher at heart. As a dancer, we teach, we choreograph, right? We perform and we go back to teaching. And so that machine, I was a teacher my whole life. So I became a teacher, a workshop leader for them
Yeah.
naturally. And eventually that company didn't really fully work out, politics, but I ended up continuing my research because I just was so hungry for, I want to know it all, and the
Right.
layers, the layers, the layers. So I studied with 5 masters in the field of relationship in different angles: anthropologically, psychology,
Wow.
chemistry. Dr. John Gray, Mars and Venus, the past 10 years of his life is all about the chemistry of our bodies that makes us
Sure.
behave and active. Fascinating, right? I'm all over that. The dynamic of really, how do you build love and respect, the dynamic of this that we understand but we don't. Esther Perel in New York City, like she talks about intimacy and how do you let, mating in captivity. How do you
Right.
keep the heat going when you, 5 masters that I kept studying under, who kind of
Wow.
brought this cocktail that I have. And then, like I said, 2009, I started Project Equinox to basically bring this stuff forward in culture.
Yes.
And it becomes now my mission is to help men and women, men, women, all of them. It's all the same. The dynamics that work across the board, regardless of what's between your legs.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And so again, with the data, and we have research, people who succeed in long-term relationships all have a similar kind of approach to it all.
Yeah.
And ultimately in the end, it's not that complicated, but what's in culture right now is actually everything that the culture makes popular and encourages and says is better, right, or should be, is keeping people from getting healthy relationships. So it's countercultural, which is part of the problem. And this is why my mission is so big, because
Yeah.
it's my mission, God's mission, to literally bring hope and understanding in the way that we don't understand, or the modern wave, the modern way, who seems so much more fair,
Right.
is good for money, business, right? And all that in relationships is actually the kiss of death. Oh, wait, what? So this is where the wheels come off for me. So I'm busy.
Yeah. I bet. So I have a
So,
question. Going back to
yep,
2006, after you took that first workshop that
yep,
completely changed the trajectory of your life,
yep.
did your wife notice a big difference after that?
Well, it was like she, that workshop sort of just cracked the nut, right?
Sure.
So the things that I understood or got to understand, then I had to start catching them in real life,
Right.
because we're just bouncing off each other all the time. So
Yeah.
right, when she get a reaction, or I get a reaction out of her, and my wife is naturally sweet, so she's not one of the type of woman to kind of attack you,
Sure.
right? She just gets quiet, and you see the sadness in her eyes.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen her do this for years, and never once considered it was because of me.
Hmm.
Because I don't mean to hurt her feelings. I don't mean to
Right.
confuse her. I don't, like, it's
Right.
just never my go to, but to her it registers differently. So when
Sure.
I had to catch those moments, I'm like, what's going on? You know what I mean? Because she would not literally attack; she would fade out.
Yeah.
And then so I had to, and so what happened is it opened the channels for us to communicate, to be able for her to say that she got her feelings hurt, to be able for her to say, when you did this, this is what happened to me.
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable. I think I said, I felt that you're trying to tell me this. Is that what you meant? And I go, oh, wow. And we understood and managed. We got the tools to clean up, to clean up, to clean up.
Yeah.
And for me understanding, basically, to be able to catch it and vice versa, right? So
Sure.
how do you respectfully bring in, the conversations that are difficult, right? Or I call it the conflict resolution. We don't know how to do this well. And often women will wait. It's just not, I'm not blaming anybody. It's just like typically women, men as well, but women tend to be more sensitive to this. They don't want to start conflict.
Hmm.
So right? They don't say anything for weeks and weeks and weeks on the little thing that he did that irritated her, and this little thing that confuses her, and so they get all like you get kind of like jump, like, but you don't bring it up because
Right.
2 hours later you feel better, and then if you bring it up, he might get mad, and it's going to create more so you don't. But I call it the pancake paradigm, where it's if you don't clean it up, they start stacking. The
Right.
pancakes
Exactly.
stack, right? And you
Yeah.
just no big deal, it's no big deal. You try to forget it, but you don't. You just let it go, but you don't. It just stacks up until the one day he leaves the cup of coffee on the counter and you lose your shit.
Right.
And
Freak
all of a
out.
sudden you throw the whole plate at him, and he has no idea why you're throwing a plate at him. He has no idea of anything because you never brought it up.
Yeah.
And now you thinks you're crazy. He's going to push back to defend himself because he's being attacked,
Right.
right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
these are the things that we do that don't work, right? That you
Yeah.
have to like put forth. And so there's a way to bring conflict resolution. There's a way to bring a conversation with when this happened, this is what happened to me, right? Point the
Right.
finger at you instead of them, so they don't feel attacked and then actually feel the need to fix it. They want to step in into, wow, like, I'm so sorry. Like, that's not what I thought. That's not what I meant. That's not what I said. That's not
Right.
right. But you have to clean it up. So again,
So
otherwise, you
yeah.
know, disaster later on. And then we'll blame each other because when you attack him and he fights back, you think
It's a
again,
vicious cycle.
it makes it worse, right? I'll see he's a jerk. I try to bring it up and now he's just that's anyway.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing you say is that communication really is the basic foundation of where you have room for improvement as a couple, no matter who you are. And
Yeah.
I think that is a very key point. So my husband now, I was married before, and I used to shut down, be mad. I would not talk to him. Now, like, we go to the table, we'll sit down, and we'll both have our turn to talk. And, it's always so, as someone who's a certified life coach, I learned you always want to repeat back to someone.
Right.
I heard you say this, because
Right.
it's so important for someone, whether they're on whatever end they're on, to feel acknowledged in their feelings, right, wrong, or indifferent. It is important for you as a partner to acknowledge how they feel.
Yeah, but it's also men and women speak differently and listen
Yeah.
differently. And
Oh
we
yeah.
don't really kind of like, it sounds ridiculous. We're looking at each other. I speak English. You understand the words that come out of my mouth. We're not listening to say
Yeah.
the way women speak is not how men speak. And so, which means we hear you differently than you think we're hearing you, and vice
Yeah.
versa. And that sounds in itself kind of what, but it's so factual. So the idea of repeating what you heard, because you'll actually will notice that they didn't hear you or they
Right.
didn't hear what you're saying, because women speak in a bit of hints and innuendos and go around the block. They don't want to be too direct, and they think that you think that we hear what you're saying in those
Yeah.
hint innuendos, because every woman in the space knows exactly what you're saying, but we're listening for the direct command.
Right.
We're looking for the words.
Right.
So in that, you think you're communicating, you're not. You think he got it, he didn't. He responds as such, and you go, oh, "What a jerk!" Right?
Yeah.
Thinking it was so obvious, and your girlfriend is right there going, "He's such an idiot. I can't believe that he's right." It's not
Yeah.
it. We're two different machines, and so in my world, there's three things that you have to have for long-term relationships. I
What's
call it
that?
the three C's. You have to have chemistry, physically chemistry with each other. That's human on human, right? That's animal
Right.
on animal. Like, you have to be attracted physically, chemistry. That's
Yeah.
pheromones. That's something that you can't do anything about. You have it or you don't. It's
Right.
God given. So you
Right.
can maneuver chemistry. So that's number one. That's how you pull the bodies together. Number two, you have to be compatible.
Yeah.
And that one is very, very tricky a lot of times, because compatibility, if you have sex too early with a person, you're going to feel compatible with them where you may not be, because you don't really know them yet.
Hmm.
Compatibility has to be investigated,
Yeah.
right? And compatibility means long term, do we want the same thing, right?
Right.
So, and it's a bunch of layers, but as a rule, like, are we looking for long term marriage or long term just companionship, right? Marriage for older people is, marriage is for women and children. So when that's passed, it's not the same, but we all want to be bonded and connected and,
Right.
being, so what's the game plan? What does the future look like? So as long as we line up with the future, then this is compatibility. Number two. Number three is what we just talked about: communication. How do you negotiate your wants and needs respectfully,
Yeah.
so that you actually have the channels are open and you could actually fix, adjust, conflict resolution,
Right.
appropriately. These three are essential. If you have one of the three missing, it won't work long term. It will not work long term. If you don't have chemistry, you end up being friends. It won't
Right.
work long term. If you don't have compatibility, you will collide because you go in two different directions.
Right.
Again, compatibility is really, really tricky sometimes. It takes
Is
a
that
while to really
is that
dig in.
where a majority of the breakdown is, like in your experience?
In my experience, compatibility not necessarily it's communication. There's always communications, right?
Yeah.
So chemistry you can't do anything about. Compatibility you have to research and dig in to make
Yeah.
sure you're lining up the same direction. And communication is the one we all fail at because it's again men and women talk differently, speak differently, and motivate different things, and we know we're different,
Right.
but like we're not Mars and Venus. We're two different galaxies. It's so insanely separate. However, the separation is perfect for compatible, for um, blending,
Yeah.
right? Where the woman brings the relationship is totally different than what a man brings, but together we actually build an entity called the relationship. I call it the dancer relationship, right? And I come from a background of dancing, so if you look behind me, that's my wife and I ballroom dancing.
Oh,
The
that's beautiful.
metaphors, yeah, the metaphors of dancing and relationships are fantastic. It's my whole life,
Yeah.
right? There's a way to, if you're gonna dance ballroom dancing with somebody, right? This you have to learn this, and it's the yin yang. There's a masculine and a feminine. There's a leadership and there's a supporting of the leadership. She's not passive, right? A lot of in our
Right.
culture, we teach women that not being in charge is passive, and you
Right.
need to. Well, yeah, and again, but money in business is fantastic. In relationship, it's a complementary. We come together to build a new
Right.
entity called the relationship. So it's two different roles.
Right.
It's very classical in a lot of ways with a modern twist because we live in modern times. So it's not the 50s. Sometimes I get accused of, oh, you want to take us back to the 50s? I'm like, no,
Right.
no, don't be an ass. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But there's a classic way, there's a traditional way to come together with a modern twist. And this is where the communication need to happen. How do you negotiate your wants and needs respectfully so that we are met in those conditions? Like I said, and it's not compromise. I hate when people say like, relationships are compromise. I'm like, no, I don't want to compromise anything. It's negotiation.
Hmm.
When you do this, it makes you feel like this. I don't like it. If you do this, I'll do this. I do this part, I do that part.
Right.
We can do this together, right? You do more of this, I'll give you more of that. Like, and it's all
Yeah.
like the paradigm. So it's not rigid like a ballroom couple because a ballroom couple really it's like two very separate. You know, like
Right.
he's got to lead and she's got to support the lead and follow. That's not that. There's a whole lot of negotiation in between, but in the end, it is a traditional way of operating.
Yeah.
And it's what works better, makes people
Yeah.
happier.
So, oh, hi. It's your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. I'm here to share an exciting opportunity with you. I've recently partnered with SecureVPN.io. They specialize in protecting your online activity, such as transactions, your online searches, your privacy protection, and it protects you from any data leakage from hackers out there that have access to your information. So please click the link in bio and take advantage of this special opportunity with SecureVPN.io. Again, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. So now do you work with couples like individually, or and I know you do a lot of workshops. You said that you were just
Yep.
in a workshop, and so how do
Miami.
you work with people in helping them, create these long-lasting, loving relationships with each other?
Most my client come at me because they realize that whatever they were taught either by their parents or their mothers, a lot of like a lot of single mom household have kind of a tilted understanding of relationships. Do you know what I mean? That's
Well,
just
I come from
part of
my mom was a single mom. My father
yeah,
left when I was a teenager, and he was a
yeah.
deadbeat. So
Yeah, a lot of damage is caused in those circumstances, even though you
yes,
do your best, right? But it's a tilted of. So often there's a lot of women who have been taught by their mothers to hate men, don't trust men, they're dangerous. Well, okay, well, you want to like protect her, but a lot of these women, if you look at it a little bit, made some terrible, terrible choices and should not pollute the world with men or this and that when they
right,
really chose very poorly. And
right,
again, it goes back to their story, and I get that, right? Not blaming anybody, but like, so forget your mother who made some bad choices, forget your culture, forget the feminist agenda, forget your school, forget your friends who would tell you don't need no man and being a mother is was going to ruin your life because some women, most women, I'm going to tell you this, would rather eventually come back to I want to be a mom.
Yeah.
I don't want to work so hard. I'd like to, be more in the nurturing role. Sooner or later, most
Yep.
get back to that, and this is where they come right to me. So sometimes it's couples, sometimes it's single women who go,
Oh,
I'm
really?
not. I have so many. Most of my clients are single women, single
Wow.
women, single men who also are trying to work this out for themselves. Right? Men have been shamed out of being masculine, so it doesn't serve them, and they can't attract women. Women are too masculinized,
Yeah.
and they push away masculine men, which is what the ones who they're attracted to. So they're and they realize, seriously, by the time they come to me, like I've done everything supposedly right, and it's not
Yeah.
working. Apparently, you got some stuff because they always come referred, and then we kind of dismantle the thing, like your belief system. And if you have a hard time attracting men, masculine men, the one who want to provide and protect and cherish and give you and keep you in a
Yeah.
comfortable space, you have to be more in the feminine. If
Yes.
you stay stuck in your masculine men will step off because it's irritating to them.
Yep.
It's disrespectful to their own masculinity. And again, energetically, this is where things come undone. It doesn't mean, women like I'm beautiful, I'm young, I have money, I have a car, I have a career, blah 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 blah. Right?
Right.
What's wrong with me? I can't get a date, or I get ghosted after the first one, and I go, honey, you're. It's called ego dystonic. You're too masculine. You're too much in your masculinity, and masculine men are attracted to femininity. So
Yeah.
how do we kind of like reframe you is the work that I do. So I
Yeah.
bring men back into the masculine because they're struggling because they've been shamed out of it. I bring women back into the feminine appropriately, by the way. So it's not
Yeah.
about undoing everything you've built and who
Right.
you are. It's about being able to do both appropriately.
Yeah. I used to come from a very masculine place because
Yep. Very common.
because my father was gone, deadbeat.
Ta-da.
He was
You got it.
he abused my mother, he abused
Yep.
me. I got into another
Yep.
abusive relationship, so I had to feel like I had to be strong all the time.
Yep.
And so I was married before, and my husband passed away. It's almost 8 years now. Like I've had to do a lot of healing, and I was tired of being in that masculine place. I no
Yep.
longer want to be in that place.
There you go. And that's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Every woman seemingly gets there at one point in like 30, mid 30s, 40s. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. This
Yeah.
is too tiring. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, 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 no. But I just so I love what you're saying, but I feel like the world that we live in has really created a lot of these dynamics. You saying
Absolutely.
that men are ashamed of being masculine. I just had this conversation with a guest a couple days ago, and it's a shame that something that is so natural for us to be is really kind of changed directions. And I think that what the work you're doing is so important because we need to come back to a place where we're healthy individuals as feminine and masculine entities and those energies. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it's not black and white. It's not like I said, the ballroom couple is, complete two, out in opposition.
Right.
There's a blending of it all that is really appropriate. And to neutralize masculine and feminine within both of us, which is what's out there in the culture, right?
Yeah.
Equality was always about equal rights, equal pay, equal opportunity. Love that.
Right.
Except it became men and women are supposed to be the same. So
Right.
we feminized men thinking that's going to make him less toxic. Well, no, that's exact opposite. It's the
Right.
actual of the absence of masculinity in men who make them insecure, right? Like
Yeah.
unstable financially, emotionally. These are the ones who cheat, lie,
Yeah.
hurt, kill,
Yeah.
rape. Those are the feminine men who don't know who they are, and they're so anxious and they feel so powerless, and they still have testosterone. They're the ones who are dangerous. Masculinity in men is not the problem. It's a lack of masculinity in men that is the problem. So toxic masculinity is from the boys, I call them, the man child who's never
Yeah.
grown up.
Yeah.
Masculine men provide, protect, cherish, and give to all
Right.
women, children, anything that's fragile, everything that's weaker, everything that needs protection is when masculine steps in naturally, instinctively, no manipulation needed.
Yeah.
So it's not, again, they completely sold a lemon to everyone, thinking so when men are ashamed of being masculine, they pull back. They're not attractive to women. They're too passive. They don't make it. Ultimately, it doesn't make a woman feel safe. And you know this: if a woman doesn't feel safe,
Right.
nothing possible is possible. Nothing is good is going to happen with this. There's no
Right.
possibility of her being able
No.
to be vulnerable and step into being feminine.
Right.
So we make men passive. We make women masculine. Powerful. We flip the script. That's not working
No.
either, right? So again, there's like a new modern version to do this, but men who step into their power, actually, it's still very traditional. I'm just going to say, right?
And I think
Women's,
traditional is what works, though. That's what we've been,
that's what I'm saying. But
society's been built on.
like I said, in our culture now, see, when the feminist movement kicked in and then women got the choice of the good idea, like I said, it went too far.
Yeah.
So what happens is, and funny thing is, the role of women has changed drastically. You could do anything you want.
Yeah.
Beautiful, fantastic, but men's roles have never changed. To this day, it's never changed for men. Men have to conquer themselves. They have to, discipline themselves, build something, build
Yeah.
their character, get some confidence, right? Do something in the world that is respectable so they can be respected by men and women, right? And even build self-respect and confidence. So men have to just battle like they always have in life. They have to prove something to
Yeah.
the world for themselves to feel like, whoa, look, I'm pretty, yeah. And when they succeed, right? Men then go, I want to share this with a woman. I want to build a family. I want to be my
Right.
kingdom. So man's role is still very traditional. We still expect men to provide, protect, cherish, and give, just like
Yeah.
they always have through entire, history. But now we raise women in our culture to not be traditional, to refuse to be traditional, to be more masculine, and they don't understand this is what's killing the formula.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's not about watering it down. It's like you have to know which role to play. If you want a love dynamic with a man who wants to provide and protect, they're looking for feminine energy.
Yeah. So I have a question for you in
Yeah,
regard to that. I think that, so for me, and I'm just going to use myself as an example, when
sure,
I was leading with the masculine side, it was because I was coming from a place of fear. I was
sure,
trying to protect myself. But in the working world, in the corporate world, that energy was very useful for me. Right. But
absolutely.
what do you say about the women that come to you that need that energy in their in their career, but have got to learn how to tone it down in their personal lives?
It's every one of my clients, by the way.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Every one of my ladies is the same, right?
Right?
And it's always based in something that happened in childhood, just like
Yes.
you. It's like no daddy, bad daddy, alcoholic daddy, right?
Yeah.
Which turns mom into mama bear if she's single mom, and or even if he stays and he's weak,
Yeah.
right? She has to be mama bear. Mama bear is masculine as hell.
Yep.
So you role model after mom. And then, and it's interesting when a little girl doesn't feel safe in the world because daddy's not there or he's bad, right? Daddy energy is safety.
Yeah.
So when there's no safety in the household, even if he works a lot, but he's present, right? Like this, his
Yeah.
energy is present. He holds the thing together. Everyone feels safe because dad is at the helm.
Yeah.
It allows mom to stay in her feminine and to be nurturing to the children, and it also allows the little girls to grow into their feminine naturally, and allows young men to have a role model and learn to be appropriately masculine. So when you take daddy out, the little mama bear turns into a bear. Mama bear
Yeah.
will kill you. Mama bear is masculine as hell,
Yeah.
right? Mama bear is not feminine. It's a providing, protecting for the kids. That's masculine. And so then the girls role model after this, you have to be masculine
Yeah.
because that's what you role model after, and it not able to slip into their feminine naturally and grow into it like a little girl feels safe. So you have to man up at the age of 5, 6, 7,
Yep.
because you don't feel safe in the world, and you man up, and it becomes your life. Now, interesting enough, that manning up is a protection. It's an instinctual protection mechanism to survive. It's beautiful,
Yeah.
except it doesn't stop. So
Right.
when you become masculine per default, not your fault, right? Your life, your circumstances, you ended up a masculine woman in the world. You can't be vulnerable. You can't let go. You have to control everything. You can't let men, you can't let
Right.
friends, you can't let anybody help you. You go into
Yep.
overly, nurturing everything over the top on steroids, and you burn out and you get resentful that nobody's helping and it's always all on
Yeah.
you. But like that's just what happens. And
Right.
it's very unhealthy. It burns you out. And by the time you get to like 35, 40, you like pride and you don't want this anymore and it's not working. It's not your fault, right?
Right.
So that's what happens. Like little girls get stuck. So what I do is I don't undo everything because these women are amazing. They built some businesses, they
Yeah.
built some lives. They're amazing, but they're tired, they're burnt out, they're overwhelmed, and they're lonely. And
Yeah.
they think there's something wrong with them. And like, so, like I said, like they're just tilted. They're just too masculine, right? So I don't undo who they are. We just cultivate the other side that brings
Yeah.
them back into their hearts, into their bodies, that brings back that feminine energy when they're off out, when they're done with work, One of
Yeah.
my favorite lines that I use on my women, I'm like, you can be masculine, it's good. I mean, you need to be masculine to produce results and to go to work and make things
Right.
happen.
Right.
However, leave your balls at work.
I love that.
But I mean, it's right. It
True.
says it all.
It's
Leave your
true.
balls at work. And then
Yeah.
in the world, how do you show up feminine, lovely, warm,
Right.
connected, right? Like vulnerable,
Yeah.
open. Because that's the energy that will know that men will notice. Because I want to say this, when you stay in your masculine out in the world, outside of work, you completely disappear from men's sight. You're
Yeah.
invisible to us. You're just a rock walking around on legs. You're like a piece of ice. And what we're looking for, what we respond to, what we magnetize us towards the women is your feminine warmth,
Yeah.
your feminine radiance. That means you have to be out of your head, because that's masculine, into your body, be literally in your body,
Yeah.
comfortable, happy, relaxed. So there's a whole procedures that you can apply in your life to get you back into your body. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, men will notice you and you become visible again. Women will say this to me, like, at work, men are so like crass or say such inappropriate jokes. I'm a woman. I'm like, not to them.
Right. Right.
Energetically,
That's
you're a
not the
dude,
energy. Yeah. That's not the energy.
right? So you'll know, right? And then so there's an avalanche of complications that comes from not understanding that. So again, you could be ballsy. That's fantastic. Leave that shit at work, right?
Do you have a success story with someone that you like? I mean, I guess maybe we're talking about women so much. Let's
Yeah.
like share a story of a woman that you helped turn that around, and perhaps there's a good ending to that.
And every one of them, except the ones that are still in process.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
the big chunk of the work, I do this in chunks. The big chunks of the work originally is always to fix, your baggage. I
Right.
can't get anybody in a healthy relationship when they come with all their baggage from childhood. Nobody gets out of childhood unscathed.
Right.
Abuse, neglect, abandonment issues of all kinds. Some people that have all three, plus sexual abuse. It's crazy what happens to people. But people are survival and they get tough and they manage. But so we have to clean that up. We have to clean up your past in order for you to be able to be really present and a choice. Otherwise, you keep repeating what you know. This is the tragedy of being human. So I
Yeah.
do an energetic work. I do like trauma release work, and I use
Sure.
NLP to do this. I'm an LP
Okay.
therapist. So that's all. Like we start with this to clear you up, so you could be present as opposed to polluted with all the false belief that you collected as a child. We all do this.
Mm.
From there, what is it that you want? What's the dream? You
Yeah.
want marriage and kids? If you're that age bracket, well then how do you date? How do you attract men? How do you get more into your body? How do you become feminine? How do you practice daily things to get you back in your body so men go, oh, because God, I
Yeah.
have like I have many success stories. Well, you don't know this, but I also am an ordained minister. So I married some of my clients.
Oh, that's amazing. I
I
love it.
did two this summer. I flew to Texas to marry a couple that I work with that started almost 2 years before that. Right, a woman, strong, independent, powerful, and not able to be vulnerable, and always attracting bad men. Reframed the whole thing, became feminine, understood the power, relaxed in her body. It was fantastic. So, and the same thing, I went to Vegas to do another couple. And so, like before COVID, I did four. COVID kind of took a
Wow.
chunk out of this. So success stories left and right. It's not understanding what your energy brings to your life, both
Yeah.
men and women,
Mm.
cleaning up your baggage, and then learning, right? Because women don't know. It's funny, and it's not your fault, but like, how do you date? What do men attach to when you go on a date? Like, what do men look for? You don't know,
Right.
right? And men really can't explain because men are just reactive. They're responding to you much more. So you ask a man, what are you looking for? He goes, I just want to find the right girl. Like,
Yeah.
they can't explain the details. I break it all down.
Sure.
On
Sure.
a date, how do you show up? Because what men are attached to. So when you give him what he wants, you get a second, a third, and the fourth,
Right.
right? And then how do you cross over into intimacy? That's a huge topic that no one understands, but there's a instinctual uh there's an instinct in men that is very distinct. And you could do it the right way or you could do it the wrong way. And if you don't know the right way, you will literally have him play with you and walk away from you, where he actually wanted to build with you, but you stepped into it sideways, and he sees you as like he will see you differently, and all of a sudden he's will play with you until he's tired of playing with you, and he keeps looking for the one.
Mm.
Instinctual stuff. And again, men can. So That in itself will change your life. Understanding that whole sexual boundaries with men and instinct,
Hmm.
and then from there, like what makes a man commit? What makes a man commit? You don't know. I
Right.
do. Right?
Right.
Like, and there's a
Well,
whole system instinctively as well for men, and there's ABCs to that. So the moment you understand how it works,
yeah.
every one of my clients, typically before I get married, will say something like, "God, it's so easy. I get it. I get it. I just didn't know. Nobody's teaching us." I go, "I know. It's
Yeah.
not that hard. It's a little bit tricky. There's a lot of details in the beginning, but when you get
Sure.
it,
Yeah.
life, and you can actually have a flowy dynamic,
I love it.
whatever's in between your legs, man, women, women, it's all
Doesn't
the same.
matter.
There's the
Yeah.
dance and the yin yang of that energy, and how do we come together and flourish as opposed to fight.
I love it. Andre, where can people find you, connect with you, and learn more on working with you?
Okay, so I'll tell you, you can do my website is projectequinox.net.
Okay.
So Equinox, get it, light and day, the in
Yes.
between, masculine and feminine. So I thought it was clever.
I
But
like.
I have a gift for you listeners,
Okay.
if you don't mind. Actually, I have two
Sure.
gifts. So I
Yes.
do a lot of podcasting. Like I said earlier, my mission is to really alleviate the confusion and pain between men and women
Okay.
in the world. It's my God mission. I'm out to as a disruptor to change and to bring hope that this is actually not that complicated. It's just what we don't know and what the culture is pushing that's is
Yeah.
getting in your way. Interesting, right? So if you're curious, so I do a lot of podcasting trying to really change the landmark of our culture when it comes to understanding in relationships. So you are helping me being a disruptor and spreading that
Yes.
out there. So
Yeah.
thank you. But this is why I do a lot of podcasting. But I notice though, when people who listen to podcasts come in two different styles.
Okay.
So I have two gifts depending on the style of the listener.
Sure.
So if you're a person, a listener who needs information, like I said something that's interesting, curious, like, this guy has some stuff. Maybe I would just kind of tag it, tap it a little more into
Sure.
information. If you go to my direct email, my email is Andre Coaching, the number one at Gmail. Andre
Okay.
Coaching one at Gmail. Very simple. Just spell it out. And in the subject box, you write Irresistible Book. I will send you my book that I sell online. It's called The Five Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible.
Okay.
This comes from my research and interviewing men. This is man speaking, ladies.
Ooh. Okay.
Five irresistible qualities. You want to know this. This is men telling you what they want, what they need, what the stuff that is not what the culture is telling you. Right. So again, I sell it online. I'll just send it for free to anybody who says irresistible book. If you
Irresistible
want
love.
information, if you want
Okay.
information. Now, the other type listeners want action. They want something to bite on. They want to, okay, what do you got? What do you got? And they want to step in. So if you're that type of person, Andre Coaching One at Gmail, and a subject box, just write talk now. And go right, and then what I'll do is I'll send you my calendar link where
Okay.
you could book yourself a call like you and I are having right now, like a 1 hour exploratory call. Well, we'll talk about where you're stuck, what's not working. We'll decode right away because I'm really good at this. Like in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, we'll decode why you're stuck per your childhood.
Okay.
You'll notice there's nothing wrong with you, that you're a product of your past. So if there's nothing wrong with you, then it's fixable, which is what I have to do. And then ultimately, what's the goal? What's the dream? What
Right.
is the dream? What do you want to live as? What do you want the future to be in relationships? And then I'll tell you there's different ways to work with me, small, medium, large, right? So people are curious, you want to step in. That phone call, by the way, just because we go into your past and decode what happened, whether we end up working together or not is for some people it's completely like life-changing
Oh, I
because they
bet.
realize there's nothing wrong with them. Like it's not your fault. You're not
Yeah.
broken. You're just a result of this. I think that is a liberating on, like getting revelation. And so that's what I'm offering. The rest of it is I'll send you all the links. I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram,
All the
I'm on
things.
YouTube Short, I'm all over the place. You and I will cross-pollinate,
Yes.
and again, thank you for allowing me to spread that out as part of the mission and,
You are
bringing hope
welcome.
to people and understanding. And it's so much easier than you think. You've just been taught opposite and it's not
Yeah,
your
well,
fault.
we've been programmed to different, the
Absolutely.
opposite of what we're supposed to be. You guys, and put those links in the show notes. So do not hesitate to go shoot him an email, ask for the book, or get that exploratory call. Obviously, Andre would love to help you in any way that he can, even if it's just for that that short call. Andre, this is a part of the show where I like to ask for last words of wisdom or advice. What
Yes.
would you like to leave with us today?
Ooh, last words of advice. Well, I want to say this. I want you to, it's very, very difficult for everybody to not get caught up in the tidal wave of a cultural belief.
Sure.
My assistant is a young 28-year-old woman who wants 3 kids and
Okay.
a traditional life. Well, she can't say that out loud.
Why is
She gets
that?
attacked. She gets attacked by everybody.
Oh, oh,
We're in Los Angeles, right? Girl, you better than being no slave, some slave to man, to some man. Kids will ruin your life. And she's like, can you guys just like F off? Like, can I
right,
just have my own life?
right, for
Like, I'm
sure.
not telling you how to live. Why are you telling me how to live? But like the cultural pace is that the women's empowerment is basically if a woman wants to be traditional, she gets attacked for it. So she can't speak out loud about this.
Yeah,
I have mothers when my kids were smaller in school that can't say that they're stay-home moms. They get attacked by other women.
yeah,
Like they're traitors to sisterhood, or you don't even know man. Like, so I understand what's happening out there. We get it. It's all over the place, everywhere.
yeah,
I say my piece of advice would say stop, be careful who you're listening to, and ultimately forget what's out there. What do you want?
right,
What do you want? Do you want a healthy relationship with a man? Then come and learn,
right.
because what's out there will not help you. Do you know what I mean? So decide if you want to be, masculine and a badass and spend your life. It's good. I don't that's you. You choose,
Sure.
but be clear. Stop following the narrative that
Yeah,
is, will make you like you don't want to be one of my clients when
right.
you miss the boat because you didn't know how to do it. Again,
Yeah,
figure out what you want. You want the money lane, fantastic. You want the love lane, there's a way to do this, and it's again with a on twist. So think for yourself. Please think for yourself. Take a moment and figure out what you want.
yeah,
And if you have an inclination that you want a little more traditional, you probably should pay attention and step into it like ASAP before
yes.
it's too late. Just that's my advice.
I love it. Andre, thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing what you do, and having this conversation. I'm having more and more of these conversations, and it's just indicative of where we are in society, and people like you that are helping others really kind of declutter their past and
Yep.
help them step into a much healthier future is a beautiful thing. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you for allowing me to be a disruptor
That's
and
right.
and try to set this new wave of there is hope, it's doable, it's simpler than you think,
Yeah.
and not knowing is really the problem.
Yes, amen. Let's level the playing field a little bit and get back to who we truly are. You guys, this is your host, Deanna Radulescu, Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. As always, don't forget to subscribe, follow, rate, review, comment, share, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.